Thank you everyone for joining. I am Kelly Kalk. I am the relationship manager here at the college, and joining me is Ash Kalmath. He is one of our lecturers. Ash, can you talk a
Hi
little
there.
bit about yourself and your practice and what you do at the
Yes,
college?
yes. Hi everyone. Good evening, and thank you, Kelly. Um, my name is Ash, as Kelly just mentioned, and I've been fortunate to have been a lecturer at the College of Law for the past 11 years. Um, One of the things about some of the lecturers, most of them are legal practitioners, so I think that is an element which the college uh, really prides itself on, is that those who teach students are practitioners. And after all, this is the College of Law Practical Legal Training. Um, so most of the lecturers are quite extensively experienced. In my own case, I've been practicing for 28 years as a legal practitioner, having been admitted in 1992 at the College of Law. I did my College of Law PLT in 1992, in the days when it was full-time 1 year. So it's become very streamlined since then. It's gone from, it was 6 months full-time, and now it's, you have various options as to how you might want to complete your PLT, including, which I think we'll talk about tonight. Um, it's been about 10, 11 years for me. I've loved every year of it, and met some great people, students who become students who start off as students and become colleagues. So that's quite unique about this space. The students, when they start the PLT program, I tell them you're no longer really students, you're budding lawyers, and that's how we assess you. So I won't talk too much at the moment, but that's by way of introduction. We treat the students as budding practitioners, and they are assessed as an entry-level lawyer. Okay,
Yep,
that's just a little bit of background about me.
perfect. Well, so I will, if you have any questions, you can put them into the chat and we will answer them at the end. So I'll get started. So yes, career pathway. You all are so close. You're done your academic law degree almost. You're finishing up at the moment. And then the end goal is admission as an Australian lawyer. So we are in the middle of that for a reason. We're going to connect the two. So we are the bridge that connects your academic law degree to admission as an Australian lawyer. To the right is just a few of our graduates who have completed their studies with us, and they're now admitted to admission as an Australian lawyer. Ash, do you recognize anyone? Is that?
Yes, one or two students looking very dashing in their admission attire. And it's great
Yep.
now because we are back with we are back to face-to-face admissions in court. There's also, I think, online options.
Mhm.
So, this is what everyone's been kind of working towards. So it's great that that can be done in person again.
Yeah. So a good analogy, I think, and Ash, you might have heard this as well, is people kind of say, you think about a pilot. So a pilot they've sat in a classroom and learned about how to get off a plane off the ground. But they're with a real pilot when they're practicing and really flying. And that's
That's
kind
right.
of what PLT is. So you're under the guidance of a lawyer, an experienced lawyer who will just guide you along the way. So you've done the classroom bit, and now it's the actual real life bit.
That's right. And we are treated as the supervising lawyer for the students when they do the PLT, exactly as you say, Kelly, like the pilot sitting next to the student. So in case they do make a mistake, we grab the wheel and steer them in the right direction.
So you have a few options when you're choosing your PLT program. So you can do 100% online, or you could choose a blended option. So if you want some face-to-face, that is an option for you. You can also do day or evening. A lot of people still work full-time while doing their PLT or are starting their work experience. So really it can suit whatever your needs are. There's part-time or full-time, so no longer a year or 6 months like Ash used to deal with. It's 15 or 30 weeks. And we have 50 plus New South Wales intakes a year. So you will never, ever be told the course is full. You have to wait 3 months. There's always a place for you when you want to start. The longest you have to wait, I think, is between 1 to 4 weeks between courses. So there's always a place for you at the college when you're ready to start learning. So real skills for real life. Ash, if I can throw it to you and you could talk about maybe the skills week and some of the tasks that they'll be doing and how the feedback works.
Yep. So the biggest comment that the biggest feedback that we get from students is how different the content is during PLT as compared to university. Obviously, at university, it's theoretical. We have to study the principles of law, but by the time you finish university, you're really itching to get out into practice and apply your knowledge, and then you realize the theory of law is quite different to the practice of law. So, so this is very refreshing for students when they get to the PLT stage, that they, for the first time during their law degree or their legal student experience, finally get to learn about some practical skills and also apply some of the skills that have been dormant in them. And the great thing about the PLT program at College of Law, we have this thing called the Skills Week. It's called the Professional Skills Week, which is the first week of the on-site. So that is compulsory for all students, no matter which course option you take, whether it's an evening course, whether it's blended or part-time, full-time, whichever permutation or combination, we all start off that first week in the same way. And it's a 5-day skills week, 5 business days skills week, and we look at professional skills. So the first one we look at is interviewing a client. We look at applying this thing called the ethical decision-making model to assist us in dealing with ethical dilemmas. You know, when you're a solicitor and a client comes to you and they, for example, maybe want you to advance a plea of not guilty when they're guilty. You know, if you've been to most of the law students have been to parties and people say, how can you act for someone when you know they're guilty? And you're thinking, oh, I wonder what's the answer to that? So we teach you the answer to that. And by simply applying what's called the ethical decision-making model to help you resolve ethical dilemmas. We look at writing and drafting skills, not the boring ones, but practical writing and drafting skills like how to draft a letter, how to draft special conditions in a contract, that sort of thing. And oops, sorry, I'm actually taking that off. And we look at, sorry about that. We also look at a very important skill in the middle of that week. It's called well-being in practice. So it's all great being a lawyer, and you know, the whole experience is amazing. It's a very privileged profession, but ask yourself the question: is it about the journey or the destination? So I like to say it's about the journey, not the destination. And to get to the destination, whatever that might be for you in your career aspirations, you need to survive the journey. So in the middle of that skills week, we introduce you to some very important skills to help you to cope with the pressures of legal practice in surviving the journey so you get to the destination. So that's a really interesting module during the middle of the week. We look at some skills associated with negotiation and dispute resolution. And finally, that week, we look at what I think is the most entertaining part of the week. And I'm sure you'll love it, and that is advocacy, where we look at advocacy skills. We introduce you to Advocacy 101, appearing in a mention, for example, or a call over, and then we increase the intensity and give you some exposure to examining witnesses in chief and cross-examination. And lastly, we finish off with presenting an interlocutory court application in a civil jurisdiction. So it's an action-packed week. Students, the feedback is amazing for that week. It's tiring but really satisfying, and it's a great way to start the PLT program. So that's what you have in store for you for the first week of PLT before you move on to the coursework.
And then through the coursework, could you give an example of, I mean, we call them assessments, but really just conversations, and how that works? So how they'll be assessed, how they'll be marked.
Yeah. So we have a number of core subjects and a couple of electives. So everyone will do the core subjects, no matter which way you do PLT, part-time, full-time, blended, face-to-face, which whatever it is, the content is the same for everyone. Obviously, we have to meet certain competencies prescribed by the Legal Profession Admissions Board. The first of those is ethics and professional responsibility. The second subject is civil litigation. The third subject is property practice. And the fourth one is corporate and commercial practice. That's followed by a couple of electives, and you choose from 8 options in relation to the electives. So each subject culminates in an oral assessment, we call it. Okay, oral assessment. So it's like a Viva. It's basically you as the student sitting at your computer. We've transitioned from WebEx, we're moving to Microsoft Teams for these oral assessments. So basically, it's like exactly how we are here today. You'll have an assessor on the other side of the screen asking you some questions. It's open book. As I said, each subject culminates with an oral assessment. It is more like a conversation. It's not so strict like an exam because, we're trying to keep it practical. And some of the answers that you have to give are kind of conversational in style and fashion. So, and it's open book. So there's not much pressure in the oral assessment. The main pressure is, getting everything out that you want to say. But the idea is that the oral assessment will follow closely what you learned during the particular subject. So the oral assessment questions are aligned with the individual tasks within each subject. So that helps you to break down the oral assessment into parts, and there's a rubric, and you get plenty of opportunity to prepare adequately for the oral assessment. And everyone does well. Not to be honest with you, it's really hard to fail. So from a really practical perspective, the way the rubric is designed, it's hard to fail. Okay. And in my experience, I think all students that do the PLT program, we're really lucky as lecturers because everyone is all the students are very committed. They're very serious about learning and improving and taking this opportunity, the last step before the real world legal practice, taking this opportunity to learn as much as they can to prepare themselves for mainstream legal practice. So we're really lucky at College of Law that our students are so committed and hardworking, and that reflects in the results. So I literally am saying that it's very rare for someone to fail.
Yeah. The
So,
feedback seems to be they really enjoy it as well. So they're so nervous for the first one. And then 45 minutes just goes by so quickly and they were just having a good chat.
That's right. And that's the whole thing about these oral assessments. Because it is conversational, it can be quite relaxed. Especially after you've done the first one. Obviously, the first one, there's a little bit of that nerve of the nerves associated with doing something for the first time. And, you have a legal practitioner on the other end of the screen. So it feels, initially daunting, but they're very personable. The assessors are very personable and very understanding and experienced. And, that they'll ask you questions, as I said earlier, at the level suitable for an entry-level lawyer.
Mm.
So we don't expect you to answer, at the level of a 10-year-out lawyer. We are, something entry level. So it's fairly elementary. And believe it or not, it actually can be quite an enjoyable experience. And I'm not trying to blow my own trumpet here, Kelly, but I've had so many comments from students after an oral assessment, and literally quote, that was the most enjoyable assessment I've ever had in my whole student. So I thought, oh, maybe I made that too easy.
No, I think that's across the board. And
Okay.
and I hope these people are lucky enough to work with you, Ash. It seems like you're a
Yes.
very popular teacher.
Thank you. No, I hope I get that opportunity.
Well, here's some information just about some of our graduates. 92.6% found employment within the first 6 months of finishing their PLT with us. And last year there was a salary study with Australasian lawyer, I believe, but we were College of Law PLT graduates ranked in the top 3 median law graduate salary in Australia. So we're setting you up for success. We're also trusted by the profession. So the majority of law students choose us and go through us. So most of your colleagues will be going through us as well. So 77% of law students do choose us. 30 30 plus law firms across Australia choose us to train their in-house, so train all of their graduates in-house. We've been around since 1974. So as Ash said, he did it in 1992. We've been
Yes.
around for a while, 48 years experience. It will not be hard to find a lawyer who's done the course. So do ask around and get the profession's opinion. I think it's pretty good. So as I said as well, there are always intake dates. So I'm not sure if you can see everything. We do have a variety of dates coming up, so you will not have to wait long. There's full-time, part-time, online, evening, online, blended Parramatta, Armidale, Sydney, Wollongong, Kensington, Parramatta, Central Coast, Coffs Harbour. So we're also in the regional areas too. So local practitioners, all in New South Wales, and they'll travel to you if you do want that blended experience face to face. So 3 course pillars. The first is coursework, which Ash went through. You do have the compulsory subjects and then the 2 electives. And Ash, do you have, I can read through the electives real quick, but do you have any advice when people are starting to think about which electives they want to take?
Yeah. There's 2 approaches with electives. One is where students have had exposure to certain areas in there. Maybe some of them have worked as paralegal. Actually, maybe 3 options. So one is where you've worked as a paralegal and you are familiar with a couple of areas of practice and you just want to formalize your knowledge by doing an elective. So for example, family law or employment law, you might be practicing in that area. Some students like to take an elective where they've had no exposure before and broaden their horizons. And that's what I did. So for example, I practiced in certain areas of litigation. So I chose electives which I hadn't had any exposure in at all to broaden my horizons. And then the third category of student is the student who chooses an elective because they have special interest in that area or a passion in that particular area. So
Yeah, we also,
there's 8 electives. Sorry, Kelly. There's a very broad range of electives. So employment, criminal, family, planning, admin, commercial, and wills. So that's about almost
you
8.
did it. Yep, you did it all. We do have, we also have a master's it's a large master's as well. So we're the 2nd largest in Australia that the College of Law offers. And a lot of students that come, especially into the Wills and Estates one, I don't know if you've heard this as well, Ash, they did the master's because they did the elective in their PLT. And it was the first time they'd been exposed to that area of practice and they just fell in love with it. And now they're accredited specialists in Wills and Estates. So it's a good opportunity to learn and see which area you want.
Yeah.
The second course pillar is work experience. So I'll go through a few options for you and Ash will as well. And the third is continuing professional education. So you probably have found we love acronyms. So CPE, CPD, CLE is, you'll hear it, Nate, called a bunch of different names, but lawyers do have to do 10 hours per year. So this will get you ready for that. The year goes from, which to make it even more confusing, 1st of April through 31st of March. And you have to do 10 hours per year. So I'll go through a bit more of that as well. So the work experience options, most of our students do the 75 days where they source the work experience on their own. 60 days can be done up to 2 years prior to starting your PLT, but 15 of those days need to be done once you start your PLT. And there's a couple other options as well. Ash, can you talk about the programs that you work within, the 0 days and the 15 days?
Yes. So we have, firstly, I'll go to the 15 days first. So that's called the clinical experience module. So we acronym that as CEM. And those are for that is for students who have at least 15 days practical experience, and they need to complete the rest of their work experience. Well, we do that through the CEM program, where you do the balance of your work experience by participating in the CEM. It's like a mini course, but it's practical in nature. And by partaking in that course and completing the activities, you would have satisfied the work experience requirements for the balance of the 75 days. So that's around six weeks worth of equivalent of practical experience. So the main concern for you as a student will be, will it satisfy my work experience obligations? And the answer is yes, as long as you've got 15 days already clocked up. So you need to have 15 days already clocked up, and then the balance, we will take you through this program to satisfy the remaining days of the 6 weeks. And it's fairly practical. It's not like working in an actual office per se, but there's pros and cons with that. And I'll tell you one of the main pros of it, and that is, and some of you will be familiar with this, working in some of these law firms, they can be a little bit harsh and unscrupulous and make students do all sorts of things such as photocopying and menial tasks and not really giving the student valuable, practical experience. So this is a good program to do, which avoids being stuck in a situation like that. It's a safe environment, if I can say. Excuse me. So that's the 15-day program, clinical experience module. We have a new one. So excuse me for a second. A little bit of a scratchy throat today. We have this thing called the 8-week program, which is the 0 days practical experience. So, Kelly, I might have to just take a breather for a second if you wanted to.
That's all right. Yeah. This is called the in practice component. It's an additional 8-week online program, and it'll take care of all your work experience requirements. So this is approved to go through next June, and then we'll have to wait and see what the regulators want us to do after that. A lot of students who benefit from this are coming to law from a different career. So they work full time in their jobs, and they can't take the time off work to get the work experience. So we'll do this for them. So it's 8-week online program with mentoring sessions. And Ash runs this. It's called the in practice component. You're back now? All right.
Sorry about that. Just right. So this is really interesting program. It was designed to assist students during the pandemic when a lot of students lost jobs because law firms couldn't employ staff during the pandemic. And so with permission of the the LPAB, Legal Professional Admission Board, with their permission, we extended the CEM program, with the one you see with 15 days, to one where you don't need any work experience at all. Okay, so you can come fresh into this program without having had any legal experience before, without having accrued any days of legal experience. So that's a great thing. So that basically now means that everyone can do it. You just have to enroll, and you can enroll if you're studying full-time. You can enroll when you've completed the full-time course. If you're studying part-time PLT, you can enroll in the last week or so of the part-time course. And then what happens is, it's very similar to the CEM program. We take you through a number of activities again, but this time for 3 activities, you are assigned what we call a legal practice mentor or legal practitioner mentor. So we assign you to a solicitor in practice out there in the field, and they conduct 3 activities in consultation with you. All right. Oh, sorry, you conduct the activities in consultation with them, and they give you, they basically act as a mentor, and they also give you real life sort of opinions, real life knowledge about the activities, the subject of the course. So you get to effectively work with a lawyer who's in the field, and they give you real life, exposure to aspects of legal practice. So this has been very successful because there's a couple of advantages. One is, for some of you, you've never had the opportunity to create any contacts in the profession, and you may not have met lawyers who are practicing, especially the experienced ones. Well, suddenly through this program, your mentor, if I mention just like another mentor, not so much, I'm also a mentor in this program, but Joe Blow, who's a legal practitioner, if you're assigned that particular practitioner, that practitioner is now your mentor, friend, and they provide you with guidance career long. Like you have this new contact, and in our game, this legal practice game, it's a small world and everyone kind of knows everyone. So you could potentially even put that mentor's name down as a referee. And I'll be honest with you, I got my first job was because my boss that eventually hired me knew one of my referees, and that's how I kind of got my first job. And it's a very social profession, and if someone has a link to someone, somehow that plays a really big role in this field. Sorry if I've been waffling a bit, but in quick nutshell, the in practice component, you don't have to have any work experience. You can enroll at the end of the PLT courses, and you'll be assigned a legal practice mentor, and you get to work with them, and they become your friend and mentor, and you can get their advice, and they become a career-long contact for you.
That's great. Thanks, Ash. CPE, as I previously said, is one of the acronyms that you'll get across. So CPD, CPE, CLE. Ash has to do 10 hours per year.
Yes.
So usually the rules are state to state are beginning to be a bit more similar, but it's generally 4 areas that you need 1 unit per area in. So it's substantive law, professional ethics and responsibility, professional skills, and legal business management. Yeah, legal practice management and business skills. So we introduce you to this whole concept, and you're going to do 10 hours of online interactive modules. So you can do them kind of a Netflix binge all in one go if you want, or do them kind of gradually. The areas we focus on for this are legal tech and business skills. So these are the areas where we think that you could add the most value after doing your course to whatever organization you join. So you'll also receive a certificate of legal tech and business, and it's just another skill to add to your CV, and just to get you used to the 10 hours that you have to do every year. Ash, what do you do for your CPD?
I tend to focus on areas which I'm already practicing. So I usually choose family law, commercial litigation, and those sorts of areas,
Yeah.
just to consolidate my knowledge and try and keep current in the areas in which I practice.
And that is the point of CPD, is to make sure you're current and your
That's
practice
right.
is yeah.
Yeah. And otherwise, it can be very isolating being a legal practitioner, especially if you're a sole practitioner, such as myself. I mean, I do have employed solicitors working for me, but I'm essentially a sole practitioner, and you just get so preoccupied in your day-to-day legal practice responsibilities, and it's like you're just looking down all the time. You rarely look around and see what's happening in the world, and so this forces us to get up and look around and see what's happening in the world and keep current.
Yeah, that's great. So here you might recognize someone on the left. So these are some of your lecturers from New South Wales. All of them are practicing lawyers, and a lot of different areas. So really diverse group. I think we have property law, family law, commercial litigation. I think there's pretty much every area is represented there. But you'll see Ash and there's Tanya. You'll have some great lecturers, and they're all practicing lawyers as well. Everyone has a current practicing certificate, and yeah. And some of them running their own practice, just like Ash.
Mm.
You also have a support team. So these are the real people that you can get in touch with throughout your studies. So Emma is a law student as well. She's at Charles Sturt, and so she understands all the questions you might have. You can get in touch with her anytime. I'll have her email address up on the screen in a second. And Glenn, once you start with student services, if you need, say you start in the full-time course, life gets a bit hectic, you need to change it in the first week, go to part-time, that's no problem. Just email Glenn, you can change your elective. Ash, if you have any questions throughout, if you're lucky enough to get Ash as a lecturer, just always reach out. I think just always reach out to your lecturers. And then a really cool service we offer too, we have a careers team, a national careers team. Ruth is a career advisor in New South Wales, and College of Law PLT graduates can do 2 one-on-one coaching sessions with our careers team. So while they're studying, or up to a year after they're done with their PLT. So whether that's a mock interview, just a career coaching session, just to work out what you want, CV review, they're really great and they can help get you ready for whatever job you go into. So again, these are the options we talked about. I'll have a QR code up on the screen so you can get our full handbook download. But these are the options, the PLT cost. It's all on fee help. And if you do this all the days yourself, there's no extra fee, but there are additional fees if you do choose the different work experience options. So again, which PLT is for me? I think it's the College of Law, but regular intakes every 1 to 4 weeks, many different options for you to study, however works for you. So whether it's online or blended, evening or daytime, full-time or part-time, and we're very local. You'll recognize, you probably will see a bunch of your lecturers in practice once you're admitted. I think, Ash, they become colleagues whenever they start the PLT.
Yes, we treat them as colleagues.
Yeah. So if you want, you can scan this code. I will stop share. You'll still be able to see it. And you can ask any questions you have in the chats. Can you guys, oh, it might not be able to see anymore. Can you, if anyone has any questions, just type them in here. And also if you want, we have an enrollments officer who, if you want her to give you a call or send you an email to set up a call, you can just put your email address in this chat right here, and I'll get Emma to reach out to you. Anything else you want to add though while we're finishing up, Ash?
In terms of what students have been choosing lately, should I mention that? Because there's a lot of options.
Yeah.
I think everybody, all students would ideally like to attend at college face-to-face at some point, because some of these workshops that we do, especially in that skills week, they're really, they're so interesting and also engaging and a lot of fun. So it's great to be there face-to-face. But I think in reality, the figures have shown that people still enjoy doing the online sort of component. Sorry, they enjoy doing the skills week through the online channels. So online, the convenience of the online is still great, I've got to say, and even for those students who would love to be able to come in, they ultimately succumb to doing it online. So that is definitely what most people are doing, and that is still very much available as an option to do the PLT.
Thanks, Ash. We got a couple of questions. Are you still able to enroll for other postgraduate studies, such as a master's or PhD, while doing the PLT? I mean, it is a postgraduate study. PLT it's a graduate diploma of legal practice. It will take some time. If you're doing the full-time course, you should set aside about 35 hours. We have had a couple of students that were they just knew exactly what they wanted to do. So you can actually look him up, Maximilian Williams, an amazing PLT grad, studied with us, and I think he even did a couple of wills and estates subject at the same time as his master's. He just did his PLT and knew he wanted to do his master's, and he did do great. I think it really just depends on the person. I would probably recommend, if you are interested in doing an intensive kind of subject, like a master's or PhD at the same time, I would probably talk to our enrollments officer, Emma. It's enrollments at calllaw.edu.au, and I'll put that in the chat. And just talk about your circumstances, and she can see. I'm not sure. I mean, it is still, you are doing postgraduate study with PLT, so it is up to you. And you need to be mindful. You need to set aside 35 hours. Someone else has asked, how is the PLT at the College of Law different from the PLT at UTS? I personally don't know UTS's program. Ash, do you have any comments on that?
I don't know the UTS program, except that I have met a few lecturers and students, but I don't specifically know, unfortunately. I can say that the College of Law program is very flexible and very diverse. And the lecturers, who, as we've already indicated, are largely legal practitioners. So I'm not sure if that's necessarily the case at UTS, where you might have your more traditional type lecturer teaching you the PLT program.
Yeah. Melanie had another question. Is there much opportunity to network with your peers and form connections? Yes.
Yes.
Ash, do you want to start first?
Yes. We, at the first onsite even, we have, during the skills week, we have a couple of networking opportunities and drinks functions where they're specifically designed for you to meet other students in your cohort. And as I said, the more people you know, the better, because it's more about who you know rather than what you know in this profession. So there's definitely opportunities to network during the skills week. And then, of course, we've got quite a sophisticated system through Canvas whereby you can have you can be in touch with other students. There's discussion forums and groups, and plenty of opportunity to meet other students and network through those channels, which are inbuilt into Canvas.
And Canvas is the learning platform. So can you talk about, I didn't really touch on this, but what Canvas looks like? So all the readings, the resources, what they can find there?
Oh, sorry. Yes. So,
Yeah.
So Canvas basically has everything. You don't need to go outside of Canvas to satisfy the requirements of each of the activities in each subject. So Canvas is just basically the, how do you describe it? Is it the user system that all the content is contained in? And so for each subject, you have an activity. And when you carry out that particular activity, you have activity resources and information, instruction about the particular subject. It's got all the resources that you need, and references and links. So you don't have to really go beyond Canvas to complete the coursework. So it's nice and self-contained. If you've got your laptop, you can be anywhere in the world, and you can pretty much satisfy your requirements by just working within the Canvas system, not having to go outside and do independent and extra research.
Thank you. Anything else? Any other questions? And if you, like I said, if you want to put your email address in the chat, I can have Emma from our enrollments team reach out to you, and she can set up a time to chat through whatever particular circumstances you have and whatever questions you have about a certain course. But any other questions? It looks like I think we're wrapping up, Ash.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all, and thank you, Tash, and your team for organizing this. I will send an email to everyone. We'll get the recording out to everyone as well. So anyone who wasn't able to attend, or if you want to forward this along, and I'll send an email out as well with my contact details so you can get connected and any other resources you might need. So thank you. Thank you,
Thank you very
Ash.
much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.